It's for the audience, it's episode 2 of season 1.
Yes. Yes.
And I am Nikki Godwin.
And I'm Ty Godwin.
And welcome to the Butterfly Pavilion podcast.
Once again, totally in sync. Also known as Not Quite an Hour of Ginger Power.
Hey, side note, did you know gingers are like really hot on the internet right now?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they're trending like wildfire, but we can get into that later.
I would not know that because between you and my wife, I took the month of May off of social media. So I'm a little out of the loop.
Yeah, that would make sense.
The old social of the media. But the venue has changed. We are in my home, our home, in what's known as the Hilltop neighborhood of Denver. And our production design, which is my wife, decided that the old man painting was appropriate hanging behind me. Not quite sure what symbolism is behind that with me and an old man. She's saying something there. But a lot has happened since Santa Fe. But first, a dad brag.
Dad brag. Should we have like a
dad brag?
Some type of audio, like on podcasts.
We should have like a sound effect.
Yeah.
Dad brag. Nikki nailed a presentation this week. I love hearing your stories because it reminds me of my career and when I would have a good trip or a good presentation and nail something. But your client, the CEO, actually said you were spot on. And you got high praise from your own CEO, so kudos to you. But you had a big week, so some big developments.
Big week, yes, and thank you so much for the brag. It's always nice to have affirmation in a professional setting.
Everyone needs it.
Everyone needs it, but especially when you pour your heart and soul into brand strategy and messaging development. Hearing positive feedback from the CEO and your internal team is great. It's kind of the fun part of working at a marketing agency and working with different types of clients and objectives constantly. So that's always a fun challenge. But some other good news, Colin and I...
Drum roll.
Colin and I are
That was my own sound effect. I just created that on the fly. Drum roll.
Noted. Colin, my boyfriend, and I are moving. Yay! We have been thinking a long time about moving into the Hilltop neighborhood here in Denver. Not just because Ty and Franzi are here, which is a main reason why we wanted to get over here, because we're down in this area all the time. But it is just a beautiful neighborhood to be in. It's residential, but you're still about 15 minutes away from the city. There's a ton of amazing restaurants and things to do.
$5 Uber ride to Cherry Creek, or about a $10 to $12 Uber ride downtown.
Back to Denver. And like I said, where we're at right now, we have to drive 10 to 15 minutes to go to the grocery store, to go to UPS, or just those errand type things, which is, yes, common and kind of mundane, but when we do have to do that, we're over on this side of the city. So it's going to be great, and we're super excited, again, to just be closer to you. I can literally walk.
Speaking of close, how close are you? It's like 3 blocks.
It's
3.5 blocks.
3 blocks. We may need to, I hope you're not going to show up and just be like, hey, without no announcement.
Coffee machine broke.
Kidding, but no, it's really close. I don't want to give too many details for safety reasons.
Yes, but
don't want to dox us on the podcast.
We don't need to give exact GPS coordinates, but you're going to be very close to Dad, and I think we talked about it in the last episode that you stopped nomading to be near Dad, because Dad's got cancer. And, when I first got the diagnosis, it was, you could have 2 years, as little as 2 years, and you could have, 4 to 8 years. And we're a year and a half in. So it's not lost on me that you're, made a very loving sacrifice to be near Dad, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, thanks, Dad. And just another, quick note on that. It's been, this past year and a half at our previous place was like a transition period because we were traveling and didn't really have a home base. But now that we've been here, Colin and I are also getting a little bit older. We know what we want and need in a home, and that's pretty cool too. So it's been nice just having an immediate near future goal and a plan, and how I feel very lucky and fortunate that we're able to make that type of decision and do that. And super excited. We're over here all the time anyways, but I imagine it's going to increase with the change in proximity.
And there's a great wine bar.
Yeah, not to mention.
Nearby, there's a College Inn, which is a great neighborhood bar, and there's an awesome movie theater, super close.
I will not be leaving this neighborhood, so.
Yes.
Well, enough about me, and you can notice we're a little sleepy today. We're kind of on the same wavelength.
We're double fisting coffee this morning. I think we were gonna maybe segue into maybe some of my updates.
Yes.
So I want to talk about Blackstone and Watercolor, but I probably need to get the ugly out of the way first. So on the oncology front, a month ago, I would have quarterly oncology appointments, and we would check primarily my PSA levels and other...
PSI levels?
PSA levels.
I'm just kidding.
Not tire pressure.
That's how I remember.
Prostate-specific antigen.
Oh, I didn't know that's what it stood for.
Yes, exactly.
I don't mean to keep derailing.
So it's a barometer of... first off, it was what originally indicated I could have prostate cancer. Normal levels are 1 to 4. Mine was 77, jumped up to 117 with chemo. Of course, chemo doesn't address the testosterone piece. Fundamentally, I use the analogy of cancer as a dinosaur, and the dinosaur's food is testosterone. So I did chemo, but the other half of it is you got to deprive the dinosaur of its food source, which is testosterone. So I've been on a daily drug called Zytiga, which is a hormone deprivation, basically kills testosterone, which might explain a lot of my energy levels. But anyway, all of this intertwines to, we go in quarterly to run all the blood levels. Well, a month ago, my PSA started to pop up, and it's been hovering around well below 1, about a 0.15 to 0.17.
Which, for those who may not know, that's a normal level for a man, correct?
Well, normal levels are 1 to... Because it can
go up to 100, right?
No. So normal levels are 1 to 4. 100 is danger, Will Robinson.
Yes.
It's like, but it's a barometer for cancer activity. So that's one of the many things we test quarterly, and a month ago it's crept up to 1.74, which normally for a man to be 1.74, not a big deal, but for it to go from 0.17 to 1.74 is a 10x increase.
Yeah.
And my oncologist, Dr. Eiley, was concerned in that he would normally see that around 2 years after chemo, and so those levels jumped up much sooner than they should have. So he was concerned, we were concerned. He said, let's come back in a month, check it again. It did rise into the 2.2-ish, 2.26 range. And he said, it's not shooting up, but we need to spring into, new plans of action. So, every appointment starts with, well, how are you feeling? What's the last month look like, or the last quarter look like? And I've been tired a lot. It seems like I may have a good day, but the following day I'm just wiped out. I'll sleep in and I'll take naps every day, and these naps are like knockout kind of naps. So fatigue has definitely been a thing. Pain seems to have increased, and level of pain, but also in areas. I've got some kind of back rib pain. The original MRI and PET PSMA full body scan showed cancer. Well, it's stage 4. Unlike Trump, who thought Biden was stage 9, there is no such thing as stage 9 cancer. I digress. But it metastasized to my ribs, primarily in the pelvic area, vertebrae, both scapulas. Ironically, I had a triathlon accident on my right shoulder, and it seems to crop up there. But I've noticed more back rib pain, which is weird. So shared all that with him, and bottom line is he wants to... Well, he discussed a clinical trial, and I'll probably share more details down the road, because we're leaning quite heavily towards that. He discussed another path, which would be jumping into Pluvicto, which I've talked about a lot on my social. We touched on it briefly in the last podcast. It's a relatively new drug for metastasized prostate cancer. But the bottom line is we got to deprive the dinosaur of its food source. So the strategy is probably more focused on that initially. But stay tuned. I'll let you know. But it was an emotional week because, there was a lot of anxiety leading up to that. And, I didn't know, God, was my PSA going to jump up to 20 or, I'm not an oncologist. I felt comfortable that I knew it was going to go up. Just in my gut, I knew that things were trending up, and but I think the doctor was pleased that it was only in the 2-ish range, and but it's meaning that we need more treatment. So another leg in the journey of stage 4 cancer, but still fighting, and we love love's a strong word. We really like our oncologist. He's on the university side. He's actually a professor, so that's what introduces us via UC Health and CU Anschutz here locally into trials. Mm-hmm. So traditional hospitals without a university connection, they don't have those options. So
right. Anyway, very progressive.
That was a very long update, but that cancer's a complicated thing, and there was a lot to consume in the appointment a month ago, and here just a couple of days ago. So what we will do is we'll repeat a what's known as a PET PSMA, which is a very detailed, almost like a luminol in CSI of lighting up cancer cells in your body. We'll do that in 3 weeks, and then test the PSA again, but determine an action plan. So there'll be very likely new treatment, different treatment, because the Zytiga, which I'm taking today, is starting to lose its efficacy. Efficacy.
We're throwing out a lot of words.
We're throwing out some big multi-syllable
words.
But anyway, sorry. That was kind of a downer, but cancer's reality, and that's the reality of the situation this week, this month. We're still living life. So I mentioned Blackstone and Watercolor, completely unrelated topics. So on the theme of living life. So I'm in the bathroom. I'm looking out the bathroom window to the patio in the backyard, and I see this giant box that clearly Amazon had delivered, and it was I have this frequent occurrence where the Amazon packages just magically appear.
As we all do.
Anyway, this was a large one, and I'm like, classic kind of like my stepdad when we first got our microwave, and he's like, we don't need that. Why do we need that? I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, we already own a barbecue. Why did she buy another barbecue? Well, Blackstone is, so like in the movies where there's the diner where they're cooking bacon and eggs across a flat hot surface.
Looks delicious.
Well, that is what a Blackstone is. So there was some treatment to get it from factory shipment to season and burn in, the initial Blackstone. But you can cook absolutely anything on this thing. So we had some Costco steaks that our brother-in-law's living in the basement temporarily, and he's become the Blackstone chef.
Perfect.
But we had phenomenal Costco steaks. It was the juiciest steak, amazing flavor, and I was surprised because I was thinking, you need to get flavor, you need a barbecue, but it's amazing what kind of flavor you can get out of that. But it's just been fun because one Sunday when he had his kids over. That gives me my grandpa fix with Alice and Henry and Emmett. He cooked breakfast. He had pancakes, eggs, and bacon all going at the same time on this thing. You were over one night. We used it like 5 times in the first week.
It's already getting its money.
Yes,
money's worth out of it.
So anyway, it doesn't sound that exciting, but meals are something that, something we enjoy, and it's a living thing, and, something that's brought joy to our household to, be outdoors and have, the cooking happen outdoors.
Yeah, and it's
but then
about the little things.
Watercolor, completely unrelated. So I mentioned I took the month off from social media, which has been fantastic. I felt I was becoming the angry old man, get off my porch. And I think I just went from advocacy to almost, too negative and, bemoaning that I had cancer and all this. And I think I had an epiphany also with conversations with my wife that, it had turned negative. And social media can be great, but it can also be...
Well, I don't think you're alone in that epiphany or just the understanding of social media. It's, on one hand, it can be so great for making connections, being creative. You can monetize your platforms, etc. That all has some positives to it. But then, like you were saying, it's very easy to spiral, go down these dark rabbit holes, and just doom scroll. And it does impact. Well, it impacts my mental health. I know it has for you, and a lot of people feel that way as well. So I think it's important to recognize when that's happening, take that break, because I've done social media breaks before too, and they've always been amazing. I've never been like, wow, I regretted this.
Right. Well, I think the doom scrolling, there's a lot of negative news, and
of course we live in America.
My wife is very political and probably one of the more educated political people I know, and as a result we follow politics, and there's some zaniness going on in our country, and if you log on every day you will find just stuff that spins up your blood pressure, and it was not healthy. And RFK Jr. and the clown posse he's got in HHS, me yelling into the internet that he's a clown is going to have no bearing on my future. So I'm not saying I'm going to give up on social media in its entirety, because I made very good friends. I've got a couple of the Resistors had me on their show up in Canada. Great couple of Canadian women that have a similar show podcast. And, so I made some really good, positive friendships, so we'll see. But I think I would like to think that I will change my behavior to avoid that doom scrolling and the angry old man, deal. But
it's all about balance, really. Which is easier said than done.
So while I had that extra time, I painted my first watercolor in years.
It's amazing.
It happened to be of our dogs, and it was a combination watercolor and doodle.
I'm going to get it.
Yes, Nikki will go get it for our visual audience. But what was interesting was that it's kind of like riding a bike. I picked up a paintbrush and remembered how to watercolor from learning how to watercolor in junior high. So that's Finch and Boo. There's the doodle effect, for our YouTube audience. You'll have to visualize it on the podcast. But
So cute.
I had to do it over several sessions and probably over a few days, just from an energy standpoint, because sitting, and even though I'm not, cutting down trees, it is a physical effort. So there was pacing that was involved, and it took a while, but it gave me great joy. So that, was a couple of new slices of life that I've enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, can I jump in and?
Of course. Of course.
You shared a lot of some, not so great updates, but also some, little slices of life. But, I heard that, health update in real time. Obviously, I had Dad's doctor appointment on my calendar, but I'm just glad that you're at this progressive hospital where you are presented with
Have those options.
Yeah, you have those opportunities and paths moving forward. It's not like we're just not at a standstill and we're just gonna keep going and we're just gonna roll with the punches. So you're very strong and brave for going through this, and I'm really proud of you, and I know it's really hard. So there's that. on that note, but I was, I think you're talking about how you experience fatigue and tiredness, which everyone can relate to. Everyone is tired. We all understand that. But I think what's hard, for some maybe viewers or people who may not see you every single day is that, you're not the stereotypical cancer patient in a hospital bed with, the shaved head, and you're not bedridden, but just because you're not at that point yet doesn't mean that you're not in pain and you're not 10 times more exhausted than the average person. So I think...
fatigue is a hidden illness.
Yeah, you can't look at... maybe you could kind of look at someone and say, oh, they're tired, but you never really know what's going on until, we talk about it. And so I'm just... Again, proud of you for just enduring this and for your social media break and finding little slices of joy, like the Blackstone, like watercolor, because everyone needs to stop and smell the roses at one point or another. We only have so many days on this planet, and the little things that make us happy are really important. So it's great.
Well, maybe that's a good segue for... now a word from our sponsors.
We have sponsors?
No, but it kind of sounded good, didn't it?
It did. It really did.
We are shamelessly plugging for sponsors. Anyway, we joke about that because we don't care, honestly, if this is... Well, first and foremost, it's a time capsule of conversations with someone I love and my daughter, and hopefully it can entertain and educate.
Yes.
There may be others going through cancer and struggling to find, joy in a day or a week. And don't get me wrong, I've had very bad days. I cried a couple days in the last week, and but talking to my therapist this last week, I told her there are days when I have calm and more of an acceptance of, I wasn't going to live to be 100, and, we can talk about all the great things I've done in my life. I've already had a very full life. That doesn't mean that I'm ready to go. But Anyway, this has been a deep episode. So
I know.
Maybe we should go to something lighter.
Yeah, let's brighten it up a bit. So we know that as an adult you became a badass marathon runner and triathlete. If my memory serves me correctly, you started running when you turned 40. Correct.
Right around age 40, correct.
Right.
In fact, I made fun of my friends who were on the cross-country team in high school.
Yeah, so, this athlete really brewed a lot later for you in life, which was great, and you ran the Boston Marathon 5 times. But tell us a little bit more about how you were like as a kid as it relates to athleticism.
Well, that's a great question. So, I was more of the played with G.I. Joes and Legos, for a period of time as a grade schooler. And my brother Todd was the big athlete that excelled at every single sport. But then eventually it's like, okay, I'm going to try football and baseball. And baseball, I was absolutely horrible. I think I was afraid of the ball. I didn't know how to hit it. My eyes were closed when I tried to catch the ball.
Makes sense why I'm also horrible.
Which is ironic because then in college, I lost all that fear and I became actually a pretty good softball player in college and out of college. But
I didn't know you played softball.
In college, I played softball. In fact, in the fraternity, we had a rec league and a competitive league. And we had a couple guys on the competitive team that actually played like high school ball. And I don't know the scheduling, how it happened, but we wound up, Phi Rec League played the competitive team, and we actually beat them.
Wow. That's really impressive,
yeah,
actually.
Well, and it was a very tense dinner in the fraternity house that night, but that was not in grade school. So going back to grade school, I loved football, and because I started late, my dad, in his infinite wisdom, decided that he needed some kind of Bronco training camp in the backyard of Fillmore. So it was full pads. This wasn't t-shirt and helmet. It was full pads. It was a hot day, and it was basically, and it took me forever to get dressed because I knew what was going to happen. And finally, my dad comes in.
I procrastinated. Putting your clothes on.
Yes, I procrastinated the shit out of that. My dad comes in. He's like, "Hey, we got to get this thing going." And I think Tim might have been there too, but it was basically my brother Todd knocking me on my ass for about 90 minutes in the backyard.
Brutal.
And I don't think I cried. Maybe I did, but at the dinner table afterwards, my dad was like, "Well, do you still love me?" And I said, Not right now very much, sir," or something to that effect. So there was still the respect of father, but I basically very politely said, "You're an asshole." But as a result, I wound up having this like pretty strong little league football career. Coach Foster said I was the biggest hitter on the team, and then probably the best game I ever had was Coach Pitts before the game. I think we were playing the Titans, and he's like, "There's 2 kids on this team that are playing their asses off," and of course it was his son who was the quarterback, Jeff, I think it was, and me, and I was like shocked, like me, and he's like, "Godwin, we're moving you to defensive end."
Woo!
And I wound up sacking the punter. And I've told this story before. You mean, oh, you blocked the punt? I'm like, no, I sacked him before he actually got the ball off. So I think technically that's a sack, not a block punt, twice in one game. And I just had this like phenomenal game. So I guess the training camp did pay off, even though, I was not real happy with my dad or my brother that kicked my ass in the backyard in Fillmore many years ago. But I did pretty well for a period. And then I think in junior high, I wound up getting ankylosing spondylitis, which is a form of arthritis. So the athleticism kind of stopped until college. And then, again, I picked things up in college again.
Well, awesome. Yeah, and
things you didn't know.
Yeah, I had no idea you played softball, but obviously I knew you ran.
And I played with a couple fraternity brothers on a team out of college, and we had a blast playing softball. It was up north off of Federal, and the field wasn't that great. The bases were actually concrete bases, so you didn't want to slide into the bases, and it was like gravel. So, but I did have an occasion to slide a time or two.
Yeah, I joined a cup in hand kickball league after I graduated from college, and I kind of didn't want to do it, but it was fun. It's a great way to meet people, whatever.
Well, your mom tortured you with trying out a couple of different sports, including the synchronized skating.
Yeah.
Which...
I'm athletic from an independence standpoint. When you integrate anything with a ball, I dance, and that there's a team component to that.
You found your groove with dancing.
Yeah, found my groove with dancing. Later in life, started running. And so I'm good at those types of
but the synchronized skating, I don't know. I think it was maybe an initiation or something. But there was a thing where you had one person in the middle, and it was a spoke, and the person on the outside went the fastest. Well, they put you with the least amount of skating experience on the very outside. There were tears that day.
Yes.
You hated it.
You
hated the girls.
They were so mean. So along the spoke or whatever, when you're skating, we were crossing arms like this. This, I don't know, 6-year-old girl was like death gripping me and was just so rude and mean to me. And so here I am, like on the end, like skating around. And I remember I confronted her. I don't know if were you with me when I confronted her?
I was there.
And
I don't remember. I don't think I was right there when you confronted her.
Oh, I think I was, because I confronted her with her dad. And I said, "You're a mean girl."
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, called truths. And then I was like, I quit. That was the end of my synchronized skating.
I do recall that day. It was the first time where I had the desire to beat up another little girl. Which sounds horrible to audibilize that. I wasn't going to beat up this little girl.
Of course not.
But I hated that they were torturing you, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to mess you up. Yeah. But of course I didn't. But no. I was that kind of dad. But I'm going to blame your mom for that one. She signed you up for the synchronized skating.
Hey, you guys put me in.
We put you out there.
Sports as a parent.
You tried volleyball a little bit later.
That.
But you handled it much better, because you laughed at your inexperience and you tried it, but then you blossomed in dance.
Yes.
And you got on the pom team, which you made friends. One of your best friends to this day is from the pom team. So
yes,
all things and life paths lead you to, where you landed, and your place was dance, and you excelled at it. But you're also a runner, so I get to hear about running vicariously through my daughter.
Yeah, no, and every time I go for a run, I've got Dad in mind, so it's great.
Well, maybe that's a good place to end this week. We covered a lot. We did laugh a little.
Yeah, we have covered a lot.
I am going to institute a cry jar.
A cry jar?
Yes. Well, there's a cussing jar.
I understand what the purpose of a cussing jar is.
It hasn't happened yet. I don't think we've even gotten close that we'd actually cried over the subject, but I think instead of a cussing jar, we'd have to put $1 in the jar if we cried.
On the podcast, or
yes.
Just in general? Because that.
Well, no, we can cry. No, I told you I cried 2 or 3 times already this week. I'm just saying, in the middle of a podcast.
All right.
So we'll have a cry jar.
Well, and we have to create our dad brag.
Dad brag, Sam. Dad brag.
Dad brag.
Anyway, until next time, Ty and Nikki from the Butterfly Pavilion podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining and listening. And we are open for sponsorships.
Investors, could be you.
Could be you.
All right.
Signing off.